earth. And I'm going to put a healthy earth. And I'm going to put some vitamins. And then you will see. Then he went to another place and said, the earth over here is very good, but you haven't removed it and moved it any time at all. So it's so packed that if you put water on it, the water just runs over. There is no oxygen entering those roots, and the roots are asphyxiating, and they are drying. So let me remove and move all this earth, and I'm going to put new earth also with some vitamins in it, so that the water will penetrate and the earth also will reach. Then he goes and tells the man, and do you see this plant that looks like golden color? It actually looks golden because it's drying, because it's a shadow plant, and you have it right here against this wall, and it has the full sun every single moment of the day. I'm going to move it to that corner, and you'll see the difference very shortly. And then he goes to that corner and says, and do you see this plant that is grayish in nature, that is filled with fungus? It's dying because this is a sun plant, and over here it doesn't get enough sun. So let me move it to this other wall where it can receive full sun. And regarding the fruit trees that you have, and regarding the roses that you have, let me cut them a little bit so that the life of these plants are not just going into leaves and branches, but actually it will produce flowers and fruits. And on this region, because it's north and it's kind of desertic one, let's do something else. On summertime, I want you to water this 2-3 times during the week. Make sure that water is always there. And that's basically all I can tell you. Then this man goes to the neighbor, and there is a lady there with another garden. And the man goes around, and then he tells the lady, this earth is very sandy, this is very packed. You need more water, you need to cut these trees, you need to move this earth. And then the lady comes to the first man and says, I don't know why you brought this guy. He told me the same story as he told you. But the question is, what will happen if that man starts to do every single thing that he was told by the wise person? What will happen if he waters the plants and takes care of those things for a week, for a month, for 3 months, for 6 months, for a year? Then believe me that at that moment, there will be nothing but the most beautiful garden. And the reason is not because he's a rich man or he's a very good man. It's just because he's allowing for something that is called a balance. Because every single cell that exists right there, within the grass, within the roses, within every single plant there, every single DNA here, it contains already all the instructions of how to use the light, how to use the air, the water, the earth, and the nutrients of the earth. And if you provide this to these plants in perfect balance, there is nothing it can happen except that the plants are going to respond with life. Life in the form that they know how. Life in the form of a very thin, thick and green grass. Life in the form of roses all over, filled with perfume. Life in the form of fruits that may grow over there. And not just life on the plants, but that garden will transform, and then you will have hummingbirds coming and bees coming around and birds from all shapes and colors singing all sorts of songs. And that garden will become magical. But that garden understands the only trouble that the garden has is the trouble that those plants do not have feet to walk out and to get what they need. They are totally dependent upon the owner of that garden. And if the garden has an imbalance of things like this, either too much sun, because it's kind of desertic around here, that can kill the plants, too little water, or too much water and too little sun, or there is not enough nutrients or whatever, what will happen is that in a week, in a month, in 6 months, in a year, that garden will be totally destroyed. So I hope that this story gives you the insight of what Dr. Wenz is trying to have here at Sanoviv. There is a beautiful, beautiful system of understanding life, of believing that inside us we do have a garden. Whereas on this garden, we have a garden composed of 100 trillion cells. And every organ is meant to give you some different type of work to preserve life. But I don't know if you remember that someone said long ago that God loved donuts so much that he made the human like a donut. And indeed, we are just like this. And all the cells of the body, 100 trillion of them, they live here in between these two skins. And they don't have legs to walk out of the body. They are trapped. And everything that comes for these particular cells has to come through this hole, enter here, then enter the liver. And then the liver, after processing everything, it will direct everything back to the cells. The cells will breathe, will drink, will eat, and then they will urinate and defecate, this metabolic waste that also has to go out through this hole. And this is the cycle of life. And if we understand this cycle, then we understand what is the first key for a healthy life. And the first key is that you need to protect, repair, and respect the second skin that we have. The first skin is very easy to see because it's no trouble. You put creams on them, you have Sensei to take care of that, and that is no problem. The second skin is the one that we need to consider because the second skin starts here in the mouth, continues on the esophagus, goes into the stomach, small intestinal tract, and the large intestinal tract, just like that. And it also is working here with the liver that connects with the gallbladder in this area. And this is the whole of the donut. We can pass a string through our nose and our mouth, and it will go down the rear end. And it will perfectly just a pure hole. And this is the second skin of every human being. Nothing goes to the cells for life except the oxygen that goes through the lungs. Nothing goes on the sense of water and solids and micronutrients and amino acids and fats and etc. if it doesn't go right through this second skin. If either goes in there or everything will come in here and will exit right here to the toilet, I do not care if it is the most organic food that you can buy on the market. I do not care if it is all the nutritional products that you may be taking. If this digestive system it is not working properly, everything will just pass through and it exits our rear end and it will be lost forever in the pipes. So once that you see this, then you see that we need to take care of this specific second skin. And how do we take care of that? First thing is our diet. Because if we put venoms in there, Venom will go through the skin to the cells that are trapped in here. If you put something that is just trashy meals, then trash is what is going to arrive here. There is no other way. Please, this is very simple. If you put a rich diet, a healthy diet, then richness and healthiness will arrive to these cells. But just the diet is not enough, because there are processes that you need to go through in order to make use of that. And the first one is that here in the mouth is where you start a process of digestion, especially of the carbs. But to do it, you need something like digestive enzymes, especially the amylase. But in order to produce that enzyme, there is something you need to do, and is to chew on your food. If we just swallow our foods up, just like dogs do, then there is very little that you can do regarding the starting of your digestion. We need to break the cells open and allow their contents to exit and to mix with the saliva in order to start digesting our food right there in the mouth. And for that you need to do it, and you can do it when you are relaxed, when you are not in a hurry, when you are not chewing the food at the middle of the traffic in LA, when you are not thinking that the boss is going to scream at you because you have only 15 minutes to eat and you have to literally swallow your meal. The second thing is here. And here we digest obviously everything, but let's concentrate more on the proteins. And in order to digest our food, you need something called hydrochloric acid, and you need something called digestive enzymes. If you are lacking on the production of acid, if you are not having enough digestive enzymes because you are eating food that is already dead, food that doesn't have any more enzymes, then what happens is that the digestion is not going to be properly done. So what happens if there is not good digestion? If there is no digestion, and then you eat some animal product, then all of a sudden the stomach being hot, being humid, and having bacteria because there is no acid. So what happens, you are going to have cadaveric putrefaction. And cadaveric putrefaction is going to produce gas, is going to produce bacteria, and obviously is not going to be the answer for you. If on the other hand you eat fruits and you eat vegetables here, and you do not digest them, and they follow in this empty sac that is hot with bacteria, etc., you are going to have fermentation. And fermentation also going to produce gas, and is going to produce bacteria, and actually even alcohol. So when you have this non-digestive issue, what happens? Well, the stomach starts inflating like this, filled with gas. And as the gas increases the size of the stomach, the pressure inside the stomach also increases. And when you have a lot of pressure going on here, eventually some of the contents here are going to come up the esophagus, and is going to burn the esophagus. Why? Because we are filled with gas, because we are not completing our digestion the way we should. Now, once that you start digesting here, this is magical. The acid is going to bring the pH on the stomach to around 2 to 2.5. Very, very acid. But it has a mucus here to actually protect the layers of the stomach. And also, the enzymes fall asleep when the stomach is not very acid. In that way, we don't digest our own stomach. But when the acid starts coming down, the digestive enzymes are going to wake up and are going to say, okay, we are ready to digest. When food starts to become liquefied, then it starts going right here inside the small intestinal tract. Obviously, it is acid, and the acid is going to burn the intestinal tract unless there is a reflex that sends a message to the liver and says, acid is coming, you need to do something. And here the bile starts being expelled out by the gallbladder because it starts squirting, and then the bile comes into the intestinal tract. The funny thing is that bile has around an 8.5 pH, very alkaline. And what happened, I don't know if you remember your high school, when you mix a very acid substance and a very alkaline substance, there is a foaming reaction. There is a very strong chemical reaction. And at the end, both of them are going to neutralize that acidity. But in the process, that explosion starts making that the nutrients start separating even further. And here is where we start digesting our fats. And for that, we need bile. And for bile, we need a good liver. And for a good liver, we need to detox the liver from time to time and protect it. Why? Because every single blood vessel that is on the intestinal system and the stomach, they all join together here, and they enter directly into the liver. So the liver receives every single food, every single insecticide, every single fungicide, every single whatever chemical substance that is coming, and the liver has to work it all out and has to clean the whole thing. That's why on the liver many cells die constantly. And that's why the liver is practically the only organ that can recreate its own self constantly because of the damage of cells. So if your liver is not good, if you are constipated, and you are reabsorbing the old bile, that old bile is going to go back over here, but it's going to start sedimenting, creating little crystals, and eventually someone will come and cut off your gallbladder. And at that moment, your digestion of fats is very ruined, and also you are going to start developing some other problems. Why? Because you no longer have bile, you no longer have the bile in storage that can squirt out when the food is passing, but is leaking drop by drop every single morning, day and night. Then when the acid starts to pass, and the intestinal tract feels this is too acid, it's going to burn me, then the body very wisely sends water into the intestinal tract to flush the system before it burns it. So many people that do not have gallbladders will suffer from then on with chronic type of diarrhea, especially when they eat some fats or so, and then it's almost immediately that they lose everything. And obviously you are developing diarrheas like that. The absorption is going to be very limited. And then you become with malnutrition. Here on this area is where finally the absorption of food starts going in. And as I told you, it goes in and then it goes right into the liver. Then the liver, once that it processes everything, it will send it through the blood system to every cell. Over here is where you start keeping all the leftovers, what the body is not going to use, the trash. Is filled with bacteria, is filled with many substances that are not good for us that we need to get rid of. In order to do that, we need to protect the environment of this. And some of the things you need to do is to take some lactobacillus or acidophilus, because they can protect you from negative type of bacteria in the intestinal tract. Also your fiber. Why? Especially one like the USANA that has soluble fiber and insoluble fiber. The soluble fiber, it will become thickened like a mucus, and that type of mucus is going to protect the intestinal tract, but also is going to allow for food to enter on a very gentle type of a hill type of a graph. It's not going to be high peaks and very high lows. And the insoluble fiber that absorbs water creates bulk. And once the bulk is there, the intestinal system can literally move everything very easily. And at that moment, you'll be able to let go of the trash once or twice a day. And then you'll be very, very fine on that. But for fiber, you need to take water. Otherwise, you're going to develop some issues there, like it will become too hard and constipation. And also some movement. Because by moving, doing some level of exercise, the abdominal muscles are going to start squeezing the intestinal system, and it's going to help it to wake up and to make their movements even better. This is, in short, everything that you need to do in order to protect your digestive system, which is the entrance for everything that you have. It is from your diet, from chewing, from the digestive enzymes in the stomachs, your hydrochloric acid. Then you need your good bile, and for that, a good liver. And then you need your water, your lactobacillus, your fiber, and some movement. And if you do these things, and these nutrients enter the cells will have to respond with life, just the same as the cell on that garden will respond with life. There is no other way around. It is not because I say so. It is not because Dr. Wen says so, or Sanofi MD says so. It is because someone greater than ourselves within every cell put together all the DNA with every single instruction. Are you aware that just out of one cell, 100 trillion cells came up to build you? That within that DNA we have all the instructions to get two atoms and to form a molecule and then another molecule until that cell form an eye, a heart, a brain, a liver, a kidney, genitals, muscles, bone. All the instructions of how to build, how to protect, how to repair any part of the body is already built in. All you need to give the cells are the materials to do it. If you are going to build a home, you better bring to the builder constructors, you bring the sand and the concrete and the nails and the wood and everything that they need in order to build the thing. Otherwise, instead of a wall, they must have just a plastic sheet. And then you are going to say, but this wall was supposed to be of fine woods. And the carpenter will tell you, then bring me the wood. You know I cannot move out of here to get it. Either you give it to me, or I have only this plastic sheet, and as long as you don't bring me that, I will cover this wall with this plastic sheet. And then you may be very unhappy. But that's exactly what Dr. Wentz speaks about when he speaks about the cell. He says, when the body doesn't have the correct nutrients, it will grab a plastics or whatever it can get itself to try to hold on to life. But obviously that cell will never be the same. That home that you wanted will never be the home that you wanted. And this is the first principle of life. I hope that this is coming clear. But now you may say, what about the diet? Well, what about nutrition? Let's say something very simple. There are many, many theories about nutrition. If you come to Son of Eve, obviously you have here two fantastic nutritionists that they can totally zero into your particular needs, because Peter is not the same as Mary, not as Joseph, not as Robert, not as Stephanie. And every one of us have a different type of needs for specific foods. And we cannot put ourselves into this magical page. But what I'm going to explain here is just a general aspect that is for the majority of people. But that obviously you need to find the way that it can be yours. Nutrition normally is divided into two major aspects. One called the macronutrients, and the other one called the micronutrients. And the macronutrients, obviously, you have the proteins. Second, you have the fats. And third, you're going to have the carbs. On the other side here, on the micronutrients, you have the minerals. You have also the vitamins, enzymes, and also the phytonutrients that give the color, the smell, the taste to fruits, vegetables, and on and on. Both of these are extremely important. For example, some people say, well, fats are not good. Well, I'm sorry to tell you that around 60% of our brain is nothing but pure fat. That the nervous system, with all the myelin sheet that it has, the plastic to protect the cables of the nerves, is also basically fat. That cells on the outside membrane, on the inside membrane, and every organelle that exists, all the membranes are basically fat, just with tiny little amount of protein to hold them together. Which one is the biggest cell that we know? It's an egg. So just break up an egg and see how it's holding its form, but it's almost translucent, that you can see a very thin layer. That layer is practically the fats. And every cell needs the fats, otherwise we'll just die. So to say that a fatless diet is good, we are not understanding the brain, the nervous system, and every single cell. So what is the problem that we have? The problem is that our diet looks like this, with the macros here, and the macros almost non-existent. For example, when I go to the United States, I enter any restaurant whatsoever, and I now open the menu. The first thing I'm going to say, well, it's either eggs, 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 or eggs in any shape or form. So give me an omelette, and I put 3 animal products. Here, the proteins, we get them from many places, but we're going to put animal products here because it's very concentrated on that. On fats, let's put that we can get them on animal products like the fats, and also vegetable products like the butter. Like the oils. One is the butter, the other one the oils. And the carbs that we get in very much from cereals and grains. So here we have an omelette, but obviously I want the omelette with cheese. But obviously that omelette is going to be cooked in some type of fat. And then I want a little bit of ham. Then obviously I need my, how do you call it in English? It's tocino en español, but your little pieces of meat there that will bring you 2 or 3 little sausages or whatever it is. But then obviously you have potatoes. And then the potatoes are filled with carbs. Those potatoes are going to be cooked with oil. And then absolutely you'll be asked what type of bread or hot cakes do you want. And you get like 2, 3 pieces of bread. But I cannot eat my bread or my hot cakes unless I put more butter. And then I will put sugar on top. And if we start checking just on that, we'll realize that we are taking more than 10, 15 or more macronutrients. And what happened to the micronutrients? They are gone. Then when we go to lunch, everything is either a fish, chicken, or some level of red meat. And at nighttime on dinner, it's a bigger portion of that with a little bit of dressing on the side, that it can be a red tomato and something else, but nothing that is of balance. So after a week of eating like that, a month, 6 months, a year, what happened? We have excesses that literally form puddles inside our body, whether we call them fat or whatever. And there is some other things that are just like little African babies, totally lacking the specifics of that. And the body starts going into an unbalanced situation. From where do we get the minerals, vitamins, enzymes, and phytonutrients? From fruits, from green vegetables, from non-green vegetables, from leguminoses, from nuts and seeds. But even if you said, well, I'm taking some green, non-greens, leguminoses, and some little bit of this and that, what is the reality of us? That we are so educated that we put everything into the fire. Why? Because that's the way we should eat. So what happened to the vitamins? Oh, they are just destroyed. What happened to the proteins? They are denaturalized. What happened to the enzymes? Oh, destroyed. What happened to the fats? They also get burned. What happened to the oils? Well, you need to change the oil because it burns. What happened to the rest of the story, the phytonutrients? Oh, we destroy them. Then what is alive after we put our food in some place? Just the minerals, because the minerals do not get burned. So sometimes we receive patients here that says, I'm eating very well, doctor, and 100% of my meal is nothing but burned nutrients. And then there is all these sorts of problems. As Dr. Wayne says, remember, just imagine an egg. Within this egg, when the egg is alive, it has all the macro and micronutrients to be able to produce a brain, eyes, mouth, esophagus, stomach, intestinal tract, genital organs, liver, pancreas, spleen, kidneys, urinary system, bone, muscles, skin, feathers of a chick. Everything is there. Everything. And when you take this egg and you put water and you mix it, it mixes all because it's soluble in water. And it's very easy to digest. And it's filled with nutrients, all of them. But then we get scared. Then we said, oh my goodness, we are going to get sick. And so we take this beautiful egg and we just go through the process. And this is what we finish with everything destroyed. Or the body will have a harder time to digest that protein. But we believe that we are eating properly. Why? Because we are eating organic eggs, burned organic eggs. So, what this is required of nutrition? That we understand that let's forget a little bit about this pyramid-shaped type of nutrition where you take more, less, and almost nothing of these products. Instead of that, get into a diet that balances off the macros and the micros. And if you eat throughout the day something balanced, something that will look like this on your plate, where you put fruits here, green vegetables, non-green vegetables, leguminoses, animal products, cereals and grains, and you take around 2 spoonfuls of nuts and seeds. then you will eventually have a diet that is giving you a very good balance on everything. So if one day you go to a party and there is only animal product without carbohydrate and you eat an excess of that, then the next day reduce that from your plate and create some level of meal that is balanced. So you want to eat a whole chicken, eat the whole chicken, as long as you promise to eat during the day the same amount of leguminous and fruits and green vegetables and non-green vegetables. And if you only eat a little tablespoon of something, then eat a tablespoon of the rest, but balance yourself. And this is a very simple diet that you can follow any place, wherever you go. I used to go on journeys of 6 months, eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner at restaurants for 6 months. And I always find the ability to get this type of diet. Because even for a salad, I will tell them, I want you to bring me a green salad, and then a salad with every vegetable that is non-green. And then they will say, like tomatoes? Yes, like tomatoes. Like cucumbers? I said, no, that is green. But either way, you get 2 little salads, then you mix them with some lemon, etc., and you can get your green vegetables and your non-green vegetables. And almost any place I could get lentils, or I could get garbanzos, or I could get some sort of beans, etc., etc. And the last portion of this that I would like to tell you is something else. That stress is the bigger killer on our lives. Why? Because the brain, in order to perceive, it needs of the senses. And then, once the senses bring the information to the brain produces in turn images. And based on the image that we produce, if the image that we produce is like this, based on fear, then the brain is going to detect danger. And when it detects danger for life, then it triggers the sympathetic nervous system response. And this is the one that is for fighting the enemy or to fight the scene of danger. On the other hand, if the image that we produce here is an image like this, that is based on love, is based on faith, then what happens is that normally you see goodness. And then the body responds with the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the relaxation, which is the healing response of the body. So what happens when I go into sympathetic mode? Because of real danger or imaginary danger that I have in my head, then at this moment, the eyes will open up as to perceive more light. The heart is going to pump harder as to move more blood throughout the body. The lungs are going to increase the breathing and hyperventilate to bring more oxygen for more energy. Also, your kidney and especially the adrenal glands are going to put adrenaline out and also cortisol, which in turn is going to increase even further the activity of the heart and the lungs. The blood is going to go to the arms and to the legs because you need to either fight the enemy or to fly the scene of danger. And the liver is going to help you survive by dumping. Every single storage nutrient that you have has to give you more energy. But the other thing that it does, it will tell the digestive system it is time to stop. Because the blood that is here is going to be sent out to the muscles for survival. The body doesn't care about digesting a meal if you are going to be the next meal of a dog that is after you. So you stop your digestion. And if there is no digestion, I already told you what happened. Putrefaction, fermentation, gas, bacteria, and on and on. Also, it's going to send a message if the stress is constant. Sends a message to the hormonal system. And the hormonal system is going to start spinning on a cycle that eventually is going to exhaust the adrenals. And when you reach ages around 30, 35, or 40, your adrenals will be so exhausted that there is no way that they can carry you up till the end of your life with healthy bones and healthy feelings, because you totally collapse the one that produces all the sex hormones that you need for survival when the ovaries stop. Also, what it does here, it creates muscle tension. And what happens if you get muscle tension? Very simple. When you close the fist because you are tense and ready to fight, when you tense your chest because of an emotional problem that you are not solving, when you tense your stomach and your abdomen because nervousness, etc., then at that moment you step down on the blood vessels, the arteries. And if you squeeze the arteries down here, then you slow or stop the flow of oxygen and the flow of nutrients. And this will produce that your energy goes down. When you step on the blood vessels, on the veins, then the trash accumulates and you become toxic to the cells. And when you step on the lymphatic system vessels, then at that moment, the trash will also increase even further. And your immune system gets low activity because it's overwhelmed and tired because of that. And this is how stress kills. And that is so important that even if we have this hurricane of life going on in our lives, with all the stresses about the government and about taxes and about money issues and about relationships and about spiritual issues going on and world events, and whether the USA dollar is going to collapse, or whether the Middle East is going to go into war, or whether there will be a tsunami, or whether 2012 will be the end of the world, whatever it is there, we carry the stress on our head day and night, and through the TV, we've increased the level of stress because then we get visuals and emotional and polarizations. And it is only if we can get to the center of the hurricane that then we can have a choice. And in order to do that, we need to use our brain. When the brain is under the sympathetic nervous system, the brain activity looks like this. We are full connected to our senses because we need our senses to survive. But as we learn to slow down our brain activity, when it goes like this, then we start going into a space here that you can go this way and go to sleep. And in this sleep, the parasympathetic nervous system hopefully is going to trigger on, and then you will heal. But you are unconscious. Or if you put your intent to discover the answer of life questions, then at that point, instead of falling asleep, you will become conscious. You will become aware. And at that moment, it's very easy to lift the veil that the senses are creating and see with other eyes and hear with other ears and feel with other heart. And this is the eyes and the ears and the heart of the being that you are, the soul that you are, that is in this body, but is not the body. and will survive your body. So this is a way, when you learn to slow down, that is called relaxation techniques. And if you use the relaxation to find God within, then it's called meditation technique. And this is where your intent is different from just relaxing. It's 12:53. It's almost time to close down. As I understand, we have 1 hour. But I do hope that this gives you some of the keys that we talk. The first one is the garden. The second one is the digestive system, including the liver. Then we talk about nutrition with the macronutrients and with the micronutrients, and the balance that you need to seek out in order to balance yourself. Then we talk also about the brain and how it functions through our senses, and how it creates images, and how, depending on the image of fear, of the image of joy, then you can trigger one system or another, one that uses your reserves and the other one that builds your reserves. And then we talk about slowing the brain, either to relax and heal and sleep, or either to meditate and to have an experience of the one we'll call Father, the one we call God. So that from that moment on, you walk this earth not alone. You know that everything is taken care of. You relax, and then your life will transform with that. So this is the end of this particular meeting. I'm trying to find out if there is a place here, questions and answers, that I could see, but right now it's blank in my screen. I appreciate very much any of you that attended this lecture. I do hope that something clear is here for you, and that understanding this, you can use it for yourself, for your family, even for your business. Because even if you go through your business to try to pass this message of life of Dr. Wenz to people, please understand that you need to help them, first of all, to correct the digestive system. If the person doesn't correct that, there is too little that you can do for the person, because everything that he's buying is going to go down the drain, or the majority of it, and its movement towards a better state of health will be slow, and they may drop out of your lines very quickly, because there is no true hope on that. I do hope that one day you can come and visit us, because this that I had tried to put in 1 hour is the magic of Son of Eve. Is this Dr. Wenz that all of a sudden says, when you come here, I want medical doctors to check you, but also the dentist to see your mouth, because from there many troubles start. The psychologist to see about your emotions and your mind and how you're dealing with the stress. The nutritionist, because we need to find out exactly what your body needs in order to repair the whole system. The chiropractors to adjust your structure as to free the nervous system so you can control the whole body in the way that it should be. And that then it offers you a space with light is available here, a beautiful sun. Air is clean in front of the ocean. The water is super purified, ready for you to truly help you to detox. And the food is all prepared to give you a balance that is basically organic, and that will help you to detox and to repair the whole digestive system, and to take out the excess that you are carrying from the habits of life, and to bring all the lacks that you have, as that you don't have wrestling, these Japanese type of wrestlers, very, very obese, and little African babies on the other side on your cells, but that everything looks healthy. Because every cell that is provided with all these resources, it has only one way to walk, and it's the walk of life, the walk of health, of being able to defend itself, to repair itself, to reproduce itself properly, and to do its function as a heart, as a liver, as a brain, for the rest of the days until the day you are recalled back home. I thank you then for your presence again, and I am taking off the air, and I appreciate very, very much everything that you have been giving us here. So from Mexico, goodbye, and until we'll see each other again. Thank you.